Welcome, precious people, to another episode of Journey with DJ. I know it's been quite a while, but I just needed to put some things in order behind the scenes before doing a new video. Because I'm a firm believer that ministry behind the scenes is extremely important and is even more important than the ministry on the scene or on the screen. Okay, so as a keeper at home, I needed to just make sure that I put some things in order in the home before I would do the next video. So let's dive in. Today's topic is the day God humbled me at a wedding. Dun dun dun. Story. Okay. So what happened exactly? I'm going to share the story, and then towards the end of the video, after listening carefully, I want you guys to be able to let us know what lesson Jesus taught in the Bible that could have spared me from having to be humbled at a wedding. Okay. If you're able to guess it before I say it, let us know also in the comments below. Okay. So let's dive in. So this was some years ago, right? There's a dear precious sister in the Lord that we have, and her brother was getting married. And as our families are quite close, we branched in. I mean, we went to the wedding. We went to the church service, and after the church service, we then went to the reception. I went with my mother and my sister, and all three of us ladies dressed up, for the occasion, and we went to the wedding. So by the time we were at the reception, it was time to find our seats, time to sit down. So as we arrived at the location, the venue rather, for the reception, we looked around to see where we should sit. And coming from our side of the family, we're actually quite used to quite elaborate weddings, very big, often our families, the members of our family will rent the biggest halls in the city, and because it's always a huge event. So in comparison to the kind of weddings I guess I was used to, or we were used to, this was quite a humble, cute, small scale wedding. So when looking for our seats, everywhere looked pretty simple. But then there was one side of the event that looked a little more cozy, a little more comfortable, a little more, let's just say, elegant and decorated. So it was now time to sit down, and so at the time, my mom and I were like, yeah, we could probably sit here. And my sister, being the very wise and humble and reserved person that she is, she was like, no, let's not sit there. Remember what Jesus said, it's better we go, to a smaller place, a lower option, a humbler option. And at the time, my mom and I were like, don't worry, come on, let's go. And So we went to sit down where it seemed to be a little prettier than other areas of the event. And as we were sitting down, you know, shortly after sitting down, we got a tap. And we were told that, please, these seats are reserved. Can you please? Oh my goodness, the shame. It was painful. It was embarrassing. It was so humbling. And of course, my sister's words were just burning in our hearts. And, you know, to try and make sure we wouldn't make a whole scene, you know, by having to leave those pretty seats to go to one obscure corner of the event. We just asked, please, can a steward, can an usher or someone help us and show us where we should sit, at least to reduce the shame, the humiliation. And as we were going, of course, my sister was saying, you see, look at the shame. Oh my goodness. And so we looked for one obscure section behind where we would be hidden as possible. And we were just drinking some minerals. So we were just drinking some drinks behind the scenes in one corner to try and lick our wounds. Oh my goodness. Simple Sunday school lesson that was failed in practice. If I had been asked in a you know, in a kind of Bible study setting, you know, what should one do in this kind of situation, in a wedding, if you see the most beautiful place, and where should you pick? I would have probably answered correctly. But when it came to the practice, ooh, I was definitely below the standard of God's word. So, let me tell you, after drinking those drinks, we quickly left the event. I mean, it felt bad enough. We left, we went home, and oh my, I've never forgotten that lesson. It was a big lesson. And interestingly, some weeks ago, a former colleague invited me to his wedding. And when I went to that wedding, of course, by the time I saw the higher seats, the more beautiful seats, I quickly whizzed past and went to the humbler option. I went to the place that was reserved for every member of staff. That's where I sat with all my former colleagues. But after a while, I heard the MC call my name from the mic, asking if I could come to the high table. So in this instance, it was quite the opposite. Instead of being told to go from the higher seat to the lower one, I went to the lower one and I was called up to the higher one. And of course, it was a much more honorable thing to be called up. But So, but I took my time. I really took my time. The MC had to call my name again. So I started packing my things as I almost dragged my heels to the high table because I never forgot that lesson. So, have you guessed what lesson this was based on? What Jesus taught that could have spared us from that shame? Do you remember? Okay, let me see it. It's in the book of Luke, chapter 14. And I read from verse 7. And it says, "And he put forth a parable to those which were bidden, when he marked how they chose out the chief rooms, saying unto them, When thou art bidden of any man to a wedding, sit not down in the highest room, lest a more honorable man than thou be bidden of him. And he that bade thee and him come and say to thee, Give this man place. And thou begin with shame to take the lowest room. But when thou art bidden, go and sit down in the lowest room, that when he that bade thee cometh, he may say unto thee, Friend, go up higher. Then shalt thou have worship in the presence of them that sit at meat with thee. For whosoever exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted." Do you see the lesson Jesus taught? And that I failed? Yeah. But thank God for a second chance, for another opportunity, because at the next opportunity, it was time to finally apply the lesson. And that's what happened. So, there is great honor that comes with humbling ourselves and being exalted by the Lord himself, rather than exalting ourselves to be humbled before everyone where we have shame. So I hope you have learned a lesson from this chapter, from my journey. Painful memory. But I believe that this will be of help to somebody. Even if it's one person watching, I hope this will be of help to you. Thank you so much for watching. This was Journey with EJ. God willing, see you on the next one.